Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling something that I think a lot of us wish we had learned more about in school: personal finance. We've got some really interesting sources that you sent over, excerpts from Financial Freedom 101, Money Secrets Schools Won't Teach You, and Secrets of Financial Intelligence That Schools Never Taught You. And I'm really excited to unpack some of these money secrets together. One thing that really jumped out at me when I was reading these is that both sources really emphasize that financial intelligence, it's not just about, crunching numbers and budgeting.
Right.
It's really more about your relationship with money.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fascinating how much our mindset and our habits around money really impact our financial success. There's a great anecdote in Secrets of Financial Intelligence about feeling like money was like a leaky faucet. It's just pouring out and there's this expectation that it will just magically refill.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling. I've definitely had those moments where it's like, oh, treat yourself, and then it turns into a little bit of financial hangover. So how do we become more aware of our spending without feeling like we're constantly having to restrict ourselves,
Yeah, well, both sources highlight the importance of budgeting, but not in that kind of restrictive way. It's more about understanding where your money is actually going and then making conscious choices about how you want to use it.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So it's less about, blindly cutting back on everything and more about really aligning your spending with your values. And I like how Secrets of Financial Intelligence talks about categorizing expenses into like essentials and pleasant surprises, and then also absolute never again moments. It just feels much more personalized than like being on a financial diet.
Right, exactly. And this ties into the pay yourself first method that Financial Freedom 101 talks about, which is really about shifting your mindset to prioritize saving. So instead of saving what's left after you've spent, you're allocating a portion of your income to savings before you even think about spending.
So it's not just about setting up a separate savings account, it's about really making it like a non-negotiable part of your financial routine. Do you think there's like an optimal percentage of income that people should aim to save? Or does it really vary depending on individual circumstances?
That's a great question. And it really highlights the beauty of personal finance. It truly is personal. While some financial gurus, they might advocate for saving a specific percentage, like 20%, the ideal amount really depends on your financial goals, your income level, and your expenses.
So it's more about finding an approach that's sustainable for you so that you can meet your needs, but also build that solid financial foundation. And speaking of needs, let's talk about debt. Both sources dive into this concept of good versus bad debt. But Secrets of Financial Intelligence had this rather unsettling confession about, impulse purchases on credit cards racking up a mountain of debt. So even good debt can spiral out of control if you're not careful, right?
Absolutely. The takeaway there is to really be mindful of the type of debt that you're taking on and have a clear plan for repayment.
Right.
While things like student loans or a mortgage might be considered good debt because they can potentially increase your earning potential or your net worth over time, they can still become a burden if they're not managed carefully.
So how can we determine whether the debt we're taking on is truly good or just kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing?
I think that's where critical thinking comes in. You have to ask yourself, is this debt truly necessary? Will it increase my earning potential or my quality of life in the long run? And maybe most importantly, do I have a realistic plan to repay it without sacrificing my financial stability?
So it's almost like doing a cost-benefit analysis before you take on any debt. Financial Freedom 101 suggests using the avalanche method for debt repayment, so focusing on paying down the high-interest debt first. Had you found that to be an effective strategy in your experience?
It can be very effective, especially if you're struggling with high-interest credit card debt, because by tackling those debts first, you're minimizing the amount of interest that you're accruing over time. However, some people find that the snowball method, where you pay off the smallest debts first, that can be more motivating because you get that psychological boost of seeing those debts disappear more quickly.
So it's not just about the numbers, it's also about finding a strategy that works for you psychologically. It seems like personal finance is as much about understanding yourself as it is about understanding financial concepts.
Exactly. And that's really where the power of financial intelligence comes in.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to a topic that often feels very intimidating to people, but both sources emphasize its importance: investing.
I love how they debunk the myth that investing is only for the wealthy. Secrets of Financial Intelligence even quotes Warren Buffett saying, "Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving." It's like a total shift in perspective.
It really is, isn't it? It really highlights the importance of making your money work for you. And in today's world, there are so many accessible ways to start investing, even if you don't have a lot of money to start with.
Yeah, and they mention everything from micro-investing apps to index funds. Could you break down for us what index funds are and why they're often recommended for beginners?
Sure. An index fund is essentially a type of mutual fund that tracks a specific market index, like the S&P 500. So they're basically a basket of stocks that represent a particular segment of the market. And index funds are popular for beginners because they offer diversification, spreading your investment across multiple companies. And they typically have lower fees than actively managed funds.
So even if you don't have, a ton of money or expertise, you can still participate in the stock market and potentially benefit from its growth.
Precisely. And both sources highlight the importance of starting early. The power of compound interest is truly remarkable. Even small, consistent investments can grow significantly over time.
It's like planting a seed and watching it grow into a mighty oak tree, right? Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that sounds almost too good to be true: passive income.
Ah, yes, the dream of money flowing in while you sleep. Both sources acknowledge the allure of passive income, but they also offer a dose of reality. It's not about get-rich-quick schemes. It requires effort, planning, and often an upfront investment of some kind.
Yeah. Secrets of Financial Intelligence gives an example of turning a personal blog into a source of income. It's really inspiring, but it also is a reminder that it takes time and consistent effort to build a successful passive income stream.
That's a great point. And it brings us to another important aspect of financial intelligence, which is thinking outside the box. It's about leveraging your skills, your passions, and your resources to create multiple streams of income. So you're not just relying on your 9-to-5 job. You're building, a diversified portfolio, but for your earnings.
That's a brilliant analogy. It's like creating a financial ecosystem that supports you from multiple angles. And in today's digital age, we can't talk about personal finance without acknowledging the role of technology.
You're absolutely right. The abundance of apps and online resources and even finance influencers can feel really overwhelming at times. Secrets of Financial Intelligence really encourages us to find those tools and communities that simplify money management and make it, dare I say, enjoyable.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. You have to curate your information sources and find what resonates with you. But it is amazing how technology has democratized access to financial information and tools. You don't need a financial advisor to start investing or budgeting anymore.
I agree. And I think it's empowering people to take control of their financial lives in a way that wasn't possible before. But as with any tool, it's important to use it wisely and be discerning about the information that we're consuming online.
Speaking of discernment, I want to circle back to a theme that both sources emphasize, and that's the need for a financial mindset shift.
Right. This is where it gets really interesting because financial intelligence, it goes beyond just the numbers. It's about understanding your relationship with money and how you view its role in your life.
Yeah, Secrets Financial Intelligence talks about initially viewing money as a leaky faucet. And I think that perfectly captures that feeling of scarcity and lack of control that so many of us experience. But as you gain financial knowledge and experience, that perspective can really shift, right?
Exactly. You start to see money as a tool for empowerment and opportunity. It's like moving from a reactive state to a proactive state. Instead of just reacting to financial challenges, you're actively shaping your financial future.
So it's not just about changing your financial habits, it's about changing your mindset. It's about seeing money as a resource that can help you achieve your goals and live a more fulfilling life.
That's a great way to put it. And it brings us to an important question for you, our listener. How can you use these financial tools and insights to align your spending with your values and create a life that truly reflects your priorities?
That's such a great question to think about. It really makes you consider how much our financial decisions impact our lives overall.
It's true. Our choices about money, they can reflect our values and shape the kind of life we build for ourselves.
So maybe financial literacy is not just about managing money. It's about managing our dreams and aspirations too.
I like that perspective.
Yeah.
And it seems like both of the sources we're exploring today agree that financial literacy is a key life skill. It's something that should be taught much more widely.
It feels like it should be a basic part of everyone's education, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The fact that it's often missing from traditional schooling has a huge impact. It's like sending people out into the world without giving them the tools to navigate their finances effectively.
And that lack of knowledge can lead to a lot of stress and anxiety for people. No wonder personal finance feels so intimidating to so many.
I understand that feeling completely, but the good news is that with personal finance, it's never too late to start learning. And there are so many resources available now to guide you.
Secrets of Financial Intelligence really highlights those online communities and finance influencers. They're making financial information more accessible and maybe even fun.
Right, and those personal stories and anecdotes, they make financial education so much more engaging. It helps to know that you're not alone in your struggles. Everyone makes mistakes, even the financial experts.
I think hearing those stories makes the world of finance feel less overwhelming. It becomes less about complicated formulas and more about real people making decisions with their money.
Exactly. And a lot of times those mistakes are the best learning opportunities. They teach us to adapt and make better choices in the future. So let's talk about some practical steps anyone can take to improve their financial literacy. What key takeaways would you highlight from these sources?
I'm ready to take notes. What's step one for taking control of our finances?
The most important thing, especially when you're just starting out, is to start small. You don't have to change everything overnight. Focus on building good habits gradually.
Makes sense. Progress over perfection. What are some small steps that people can start with?
One of the simplest and most effective things you can do is track your expenses for a month. It's eye-opening to see where your money actually goes.
It's like looking in a mirror at your spending habits.
Precisely. Once you have a clearer picture, you can create a budget based on your income and expenses. It doesn't need to be complicated. Just a basic plan to guide your spending and saving.
And we can't forget about the pay yourself first principle.
Absolutely. Putting money into savings consistently, even small amounts, makes a huge difference over time, thanks to compound interest.
It's like planting a money seed and watching it grow. Now, what about investing? That can be really intimidating for beginners. Any tips on getting started?
Index funds are a great option for new investors. They offer diversification and usually have lower fees than actively managed funds.
And there are tons of online resources that can help break down investing. It's easier than ever to learn.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power. So do your research and don't be afraid to ask questions. And speaking of building wealth, let's not forget about the potential of passive income.
Secrets of Financial Intelligence had that great example of someone turning their love of blogging into an income stream. It takes work and planning, but it shows that passive income is possible.
It's about finding creative ways to use your skills and interests to generate income outside of your regular job.
Yeah.
It could be a side hustle, online courses, or even investing in dividend-paying stocks.
It's all about creating multiple sources of income, like building a more stable financial foundation for yourself.
Now, as we move towards the final part of our deep dive, I want to touch on something that's often overlooked in conversations about personal finance, the emotional side.
That's so true. Money can be a really emotional subject for people.
Our past experience, beliefs, and even messages we get from society can shape our relationship with money.
I imagine recognizing those influences can be a big step in making more intentional choices with our money.
Absolutely. It's about becoming aware of any limiting beliefs that might be holding us back. And sometimes it can be really helpful to seek support from friends, family, or even a financial therapist.
It's just like any other area of personal growth. Having a support system and being open to guidance can make a big difference. Speaking of support, I love the idea of creating a more open and supportive culture around discussing personal finance.
Me too. It's about normalizing conversations about money, breaking down the shame and stigma that often surround it.
Yes, creating spaces where people feel comfortable sharing their experiences, asking questions, and learning from each other without judgment.
I love that vision. And I think it's possible. It starts with small steps, just like our approach to personal finance. Now, as we wrap up this section and head into the final part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with this question. What do you think is the biggest misconception people have about personal finance?
Oh, that's a good one. Let me think about that for a second. Well, I think a lot of people believe that personal finance is all about saying no to everything. Like, to be good with money, you have to live this incredibly restrictive life.
Yeah, I think that's a common misconception. People associate financial responsibility with deprivation and missing out on all the fun stuff. But it really doesn't have to be that way at all.
Right. It's not about denying yourself everything. It's about understanding your priorities. making informed choices about where you want your money to go.
Exactly. And when you have that knowledge and you're in control of your finances, you actually have more freedom to pursue the things that are important to you.
It's like instead of feeling restricted by your finances, you're empowered by them. You're using them as a tool to create the life you want.
I like that. And it's important to remember that financial well-being is a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs along the way. It's a continuous process of learning, adapting, and growing.
It's like any other skill. It takes practice and patience, and celebrating the small wins along the way.
Right. Absolutely. Keeping that growth mindset is essential. Stay curious, keep learning, and never hesitate to ask for help when you need it. Speaking of help, I think it's worth emphasizing how important it is to have a support system on this journey.
That's a great point. Having people to talk to friends, family, online communities, even financial mentors can make a huge difference.
Exactly. Sharing your experiences, even the oops moments, helps to normalize the ups and downs of managing money. And you realize you're not alone in this.
It's like having a financial cheering section. So before we wrap up this deep dive, what's your most important piece of advice for our listeners who are just starting to explore the world of personal finance?
I would say, don't be afraid to ask for help. There are so many resources out there, financial advisors, online courses, even friends and family who are good with money.
And remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Be kind to yourself, celebrate your progress, and never stop learning.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about enjoying the process and making it work for you.
And that concludes our deep dive into the world of personal finance. We've covered a lot of ground, from budgeting and debt management to the power of saving and investing. But as you move forward on your financial journey, here's a final thought to consider. How can you use these tools and insights to create a life that truly aligns with your values and your dreams? Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deeper into the exciting world of personal finance.